Start in just 1 second. We're just still getting people in here. I think we should start. Okay. So there's no one here. So I don't really know. Is this the camera? I'm like, am I presenting this way? Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So welcome you guys to the thesis and dissertation information session. This is presented by the School of Graduate Studies. So that's me. I'm Erica Beckstrand, and then we have USU Libraries, and you see Becky. Tom's over here, and she's going to represent the library today. But let's just jump right in this presentation. Okay, so this is going to be an overview of the submission and review process. So, you know, presentation is coming. All right, this is going to be Becky's section for you.
So, and feel free just to chime in if you can't hear one of us. And also go ahead and put your questions in the chat if you have them while we're talking, and we'll cover those at the end. So I just want to talk a little bit about the support that is available for all of you from the library as you are working on your theses and your dissertations. There are a few key areas I'm going to highlight. One is that you have a liaison librarian. So every academic department on campus has a librarian specifically assigned to that area. So that's someone you can go to who knows your discipline, kind of knows the norms, how research works, and they can answer your questions, you know, via email, chat, phone call. You can set up a consultation, really whatever works best for you. Citation management is another area where I think people see the library as a really valuable resource. We definitely encourage you to consider using a citation manager, whether it be Zotero or one of the others, and think about doing that early on in your dissertation process. Keep yourself, thank you. And we have librarians who know all of those tools really well, and so they can help you learn all the tricks to make it as effective as possible. Research data, if your research relies heavily on data, or I mean even a little bit on data, and you would just like some help managing that data, archiving it, or if it's more complicated, larger data sets, we can help with all of that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on our next slide. And then we have a scholarly communication librarian. We actually just hired a new person. Her name's Erica. She'll still be here in January for those of you who are still around then. In the meantime, I am available to help you if you have questions about embargoes, which we'll talk about in a minute, questions about copyright, and digital commons, which is the institutional repository where your work will live. I'll talk more about that as well. So again, just to mention a little bit more about data, that is an area where we specifically have a librarian who their entire job is to support research data for faculty, staff, and students on the USU campus. So their name is there's Al Winhold, but if you contact the library, you know, we'll get you connected to the right person. And again, that's if you have a small data question or a big data question, anything kind of related to how you're collecting, managing, dealing with the data. And next, just want to talk a little bit about next slide. Oh, digital commons. So yes, that is the institutional repository here at Utah State University. So all theses and dissertations since 2008 have been available digitally in this platform. Prior to that, they were printed, so they were archived here in the library. We do digitize those on request, and so we're adding them. But for all of you, this is where your final paper will live, and it will be available to anyone, anywhere in the world who has an internet connection. And theses and dissertations are incredibly popular in the in digital commons. So some of our most downloaded items, if you click on our top 10 downloads, there are a number of theses and dissertations among those. And some have been downloaded over 100,000 times. I just looked at the top download this morning, and it was, I think it was about 103 or 104,000 times. So why that matters to you? I mean, it's important to Utah State because it shows the value that the institution provides and the great work that's happening here. But for you as a researcher, it will help you demonstrate your impact. Wherever you go after this step in your career, you can point to this archive, this record, to show how your work is being used, where it's being downloaded. You'll receive monthly reports that show you, give you a dashboard that kind of gives you a snapshot of who's downloading your work, who's reading. Obviously, you'll have citations too, but this is much more immediate, and it's just another data point that you can use to talk about your impact and the value. There's lots of other stuff in digital commons too, so it's a fun fact. And I think that my last slide. Oh no. So now we just want to talk briefly about Plan B. So a lot of what we're, especially what Erica is going to cover, will only apply to Plan A students. Everything I just talked about also applies to Plan B. So the big difference is that your papers are not reviewed by the School of Graduate Studies. So that formatting process is really just between you and your professor, your advisor, your committee, your department. But those Plan B theses are submitted to Digital Commons. And there's a link here, and we will make sure these slides are available that links you to the directions for that, the form that you have to fill out, and the process. And then once that's done, we, the library, notify the School of Graduate Studies that you completed all of the steps and that you're ready for graduation. So again, deadlines are similar to the Plan A, but there are just a couple of minor differences. So, and with this Plan B and really everything we talked about today, if you have questions, you can email those at any time. About digital commons at US.edu and contact anyone in the library.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Of the form, which is still, as of today, an Adobe fillable form, but we are very close to moving this to an all online process as well that will look not exactly like what Eric has been described to you and talk to you about, but will be fairly similar. So, but for right now, probably for those of you finishing up this semester, this is the form. Go back to Erica now. Tell us about your audio, you guys. Oh yeah, maybe it's just muted.
There's a microphone right here. Would you like us to pick it up?
Yes, please.
Yes.
All right.
I'll mic. I can figure that out. Kind of a naturally loud person, so I hope that's okay.
That mic sounds much better. Thank you.
I'm like, y'all are gonna be like, please take the mic away. Okay. All right, we are going to be talking about Plan A steps, and it's also going to be covering dissertation submission as well. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. We're going to have you submit your electronic publication approval form. You submit your thesis or dissertation to the School of Graduate Studies for approval. Your thesis or dissertation will be deposited in the Digital Commons repository, and the library notifies the Office of Research and the School of Graduate Studies that all steps are complete. Okay, that is a very, very broad view of what's going to happen to you. So I'm going to take you step by step of how you're going to get through this process on this slide. Okay. And as always, questions about the process can be emailed to digitalcommons@usu.edu, or feel free to email me as well. My information is going to be at the end of this presentation. Okay. All right, let's talk about your grace semester. So you are going to have a semester where you defend, obviously. The semester after your defense is considered your grace semester. Okay, so let's say that you are defending this fall. Your grace semester will be the spring. If you defend in the spring, you have the summer. And if you defend in the summer, you have the fall. And what the grace semester means is that we kind of give that to you as a gift to finish up any edits, any forms that you need to fill out. It's just kind of like that free semester to finalize everything and not have to register or be penalized in any way for it. Okay, like you don't have to pay for it. If you go past the grace semester, however, it will result in a $100 charge per semester. Now, my international students, this is just a tiny little bit different for you. In the grace semester, you will register for USU 7777, and that just keeps you active on campus. It gives you access to library resources. You don't have to pay for it. It's just our way of kind of tracking you and making sure that we're visa compliant and all of that stuff. Okay. Let's see. Do I have any? I'm going to go up chat just make sure. Much better. All right. Okay. All right. So our fall 2021 deadlines to remember. A soft deadline is in place for April 23rd, in which you should aim to submit all your materials. That was correct. That is correct. Yes. Oh, and let's see. We also have the deadline is correct. No, let's see. That can't be right. Final deadline cutoff is considered a fall graduate. Sorry, we have a typo on the slide. We'll fix that. Final deadline cutoff to be considered a fall graduate is December 17th, 2021. Do you know the date for spring? Becky's going to look that up. I know that it's usually the first week of May, but I'll get you the final dates. She's going to look that up for me, okay? Any questions so far, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll kind of monitor that as well. She's looking, I'm going to click ahead. Okay, one of the big takeaways that you are going to fill today is that paperwork is important and you need to plan ahead, all right? There is a timeline that can be found on our graduate studies website for both master's and doctoral candidates. All you have to do is go to the website and click your plan, okay? I believe it's under the current students tab on the website. All of the paperwork that we will be discussing today needs to be filled out after your defense and before the grad school will be reviewing your paper. All right. Did you find that for me? Oh, okay, we're TBA. All right, well, it'll be a fun surprise for all of us. It's usually around graduation, which is like what, May 3rd, May 5th, I don't know. It's always May. Okay, quick review of your defense semester. You're writing and rewriting your paper with your committee. You defend, you do your final edits to the academic content of your paper. Usually you'll go into your defense and your committee members will give you back some edits, what they want to see, and you'll add those in, okay? So now what happens? The answer is you're going to find the format and style form. And I'm going to show you how to find that on our website. Okay. All right, so you're going to go to SERVICENOW.USU.EDU. And this is what that web page looks like. If you look over in services right here, you're going to just go right to graduate studies. Okay. The next thing that will pull up is this page, and you're going to go to degree requirements right here. And this is all of the forms that we have for degree requirements. Okay, so the first one that you are going to want to fill out is this one right over here. Sorry, your faces are covering it, but I know it's there. Okay, and that's the format and style form. Okay, so this is what this format and style form is going to ask of you. So this is something that you need to figure out ASAP. All right. It's going to ask you about your citation style guides. I get distracted by chat. Yes, Becky could probably do that for you. All right. Sorry, I'm like a magpie. Something shiny pops up and I'm like, ooh, we got to click it. Okay. Citation style guides. While writing your paper, you need to have a citation style guide or a formatting manual for the overall paper or for each chapter. A citation style guide manual is contingent on your academic discipline. It dictates the information necessary for a citation and how the information is ordered, as well as punctuation and formatting. The ones that I see the most on campus, we are doing APA 7th edition now. We had to do kind of a crossover where they just released that, but we're now doing APA 7th edition. We have MLA, we have IEEE, we have LaTeX, which is more just like a template where the citation is in the template and then you're entering the information. LaTeX is hard, but they do it. Okay, and then we have Chicago, or you can choose a journal in which you would like to publish a paper. Okay, so that's kind of like a really nice route to go if you are thinking about publishing, is you can look into where you would like to be published, and you can format your paper to their standards, and then you're just one step ahead of the game to submit that paper to that journal. Okay. Any questions just so far on citation style guides? Okay. All right, so this is what the format and style form looks like. You'll notice that the top is just your information. This is a fake student that we've made up here. So don't steal Clint Gillespie's information, okay? But you'll notice that you're going to type in your name, and anything that's in the grayed out bars should auto populate. Okay, so if you see any information that is incorrect that auto populates, that information is pulling from Banner. Okay, so you would just have to log into Banner and update that information if anything is incorrect. Such as if you wanted to change your email, or you wanted to make sure that your program is correct. Anything like that, go to Banner, update it. Okay, any questions? Oh, Becky listed your link, perfect. Okay, and then you'll just sign off that that information is correct. So the top of the form is pretty easy. If you don't know your information, then we are in trouble. We're kicking you out of school. I'm just kidding. Okay, so the next part of the form is choosing monograph or multiple style format. Okay, so monograph format is a traditional format of paper. It consists of a multiple chapter document that uses the same style throughout. So if my paper is completely written in APA format, then it's going to be monograph. Okay, the next choice you have is a multiple paper format. It's a thesis or dissertation using this format that consists of at least 2 chapters. It's typically written as independent papers, preceded by an introductory chapter that sets the context of the research, followed by a summary and a conclusion chapter that integrates all the studies. Okay, so I actually call this the Frankenstein paper, because it's kind of like you're taking different papers and pushing them all together to make one cohesive document. All right, so that's the kind of 2 different formats you can choose there. So on the form, if you choose the monograph, it's just a drop down menu. You'll choose monograph. And this is what's going to pop up for you. Okay, it says the thesis dissertation is consistent with a format. The department approved citations style guide is, and you'll write it down in that box. All right, pretty simple. However, if you choose multiple paper format, this is what pops up. Okay, so it's going to give you an option to list what citation style guide was used for each chapter. Okay, so you'll see citation for chapter 1, APA. You can tell us if it was published, if there's co-authors, and then you have chapter 2, MLA. And you can add as many chapters as you want on the form. It's just this little box down here, and you can get them all covered. Okay. Any questions so far? Good. Okay. The end of the form is kind of more in the library's wheelhouse, because the end of the form is digital commons consent. All right, so you're going to list the title of your thesis or dissertation. You'll list some keywords. So when we do put it into digital commons, that's how it's more searchable. Is that right, Becky? I'm not telling them a lie. Okay, good. Okay, and then by signing this form, you are agreeing that your work will be uploaded into digital commons. Okay. However, there is a way to not have your forms or your document uploaded into digital commons, and that's called embargo. All right, and that's where Becky is going to take over for just 1 second. I'll clip this off my.
So yes, you do have the option to embargo, which essentially means that your work, it will be digitally archived, but it will not be made accessible or openly available to the whole wide world, as I talked about earlier. So that's what it means. And embargo here at Utah State is for 5 years, no more, no less. You can extend the embargo at the end of the 5 years. If you contacted the library and said, my embargo is going to expire, I really want it to, I still want my document to be embargoed, we can extend it, but that's, completely up to you. And you can also cancel it if the 5 year, after a year, you realize, oh no, what I was concerned about, is no longer an issue. It can be made available, and we can end the embargo. So in most cases, an embargo isn't necessary, but it's definitely something you want to talk over with your advisor. So kind of the unique circumstances where you might need the embargo is if you plan to file a patent based on your research. That's probably one of the most significant. It's somewhat unusual, but it's really important. So if a patent is in your future based on this research, then yes, you would definitely want to consider an embargo. There are occasionally external funders who are providing support for your research, who may want to review the work or have some kind of a grace period where they can see the research and no one else can before it's made available. So that's another reason that embargo option is there. And many people, I'm sure many of you listening today are planning to publish based on your thesis and dissertation. Most publishers do not consider a thesis or dissertation to be prior publication. And when I say most, I have not dealt with a single publisher in the 9 years that I've been doing this that considered a thesis or dissertation to be prior publication. It's possible, but I am not aware of any cases of legitimate publishers saying that. Most make it very clear on their websites and on their information that they welcome proposals based on theses and dissertations or articles based on such. You just have to let them know that. So, but again, something to talk with your advisor about, something to talk with us about in the library. We follow this really closely. We're always reading publisher policies on this topic, so we're happy to talk with you about it. But the downside, and the reason why we really only encourage people to do it in those unique circumstances, is that you do lose that potential impact that we talked about earlier, and starting to create that online presence for yourself as a researcher. And there is one last additional hurdle, that if you do choose to embargo, USU policy does require that your work is available in some way, shape, or form. So if you choose to embargo the digital copy, you do have to deposit a physical copy with Special Collections Archives here in the library so that someone could view it. So just so you know that that's an additional step in the process. But that's an embargo, why you might want to do it, why you might not want to do it. But again, something we're always happy to talk with you about, and that we hope that you also talk with your advisor.
What if you have a paper published but can publish it as a paper in a paper chapter? For example,
Right. And so, yeah, thankfully, a lot of the publishers do make it very clear. If you're going the multi-paper format, as Erica so lovingly refers to as the Frankenstein paper, they make it very clear that you can use those articles as part of your thesis and dissertation. And it really varies. Some of them don't require you to go through any steps. They just say, yes, you can do it. Make sure the acknowledgement is clear. Some do want you to go through an online process that's pretty straightforward, where you get a license, quote unquote, or you get permission. This is something I'm always happy to help you with. I literally just helped someone with this before I came in to do this workshop. She had a couple of articles and she wanted to be sure she was going through the right steps. And it was a quick online form, and now she has permission, quote unquote, to use her own work. So again, I've never known this to be an issue. I think it's always possible, at least in my experience. But the steps might just look a little bit different depending on where you publish that article. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, let me get this clipped back on. Maybe.
Yep, thank you. See, Becky, you're awesome. Okay, I'm going to go back to the form just for 1 second and go off of what Becky's talking about, embargo. If you are a creative writing student, you have your own special checkbox right here. And that means that your work will be embargoed indefinitely. That's a special agreement that we have made with the English department. So if you're one of my 1 to 2 every 2 year creative writing students, that special box is just for you. All right, the next form that you're going to fill out is the authorship and copyright form. Once again, it's just in those that ServiceNow table that I led you to earlier, okay? Just like the other form, your student information will populate. Make sure it's correct. If it is incorrect, check banner, okay? All right, the authorship and copyright covers data. All right, so you will select the appropriate box here. Data for part or all of my thesis dissertation were collected under financial sponsorship. The sponsor's policies will determine ownership and distribution of the data. If this applies to only part of the thesis or dissertation, include which parts or chapters, and then we have a box here for you. In accordance with the policy of the sponsor, I and/or my advisor will determine ownership and distribution of those data. Or we have options here. Data for part or all of my thesis dissertation were collected without financial sponsorship. I and/or my advisor will retain ownership and determine distribution of those data. And then you'll have your major professor or your PI, if it's different from your advisor, sign off on this. Okay, this is kind of a trickier part of the form, just because it's between you and your committee members who owns what. Okay, so it's kind of hard for me to individually say, if you come and ask me about it, I would most likely say, go and ask your major professor, go and talk to your sponsor, okay? Because this is kind of that legally binding contract of who owns what in terms of your research, all right? Let's go forward. The next part of the form is the authorship section. So you'll select any appropriate box here. Based on discussion with my committee, contributions wow, I can talk today. Contributions to my thesis dissertation will be acknowledged as follows. I will be the sole author of any publications based on my thesis dissertation. I will be the sole author of any publication and will acknowledge assistance of blank in a footnote or preface. I will co-author publications or abstracts based on my thesis dissertation in order of authorship. On this one, when you click this box, another box will appear underneath and you can list those authors in order. Sometimes I find that there's a lot of authors on a paper. I usually say choose like your top 3, top 5, okay? You don't need to list all of those authors if it was a huge group project, all right? And then we have the catch-all, you know, elusive other box, okay? So if you have some other thing that you want, you can click other and a box will appear beneath it and you can write whatever you want under there, okay? Sometimes we have our major professors that want a time limit. So if I will co-author any publications with my major professor or other USU faculty, I will submit an acceptable draft of the publication to him, her by the following date. And when you click there, you can decide on that date with your major professor or faculty. All right, do we have any questions so far on this form? Cool. Oh, and then the end of the form, it will be your approval. So you'll just list your committee members. I cannot remember if this auto-populates. We were trying to figure out a way to make that auto-populate, but I don't know if we've achieved that yet. So if it auto-populates, yay. If it doesn't, you'll have to know your committee members' names. It's rough out there, so. Okay, and this is my baby project and it just launched yesterday. So I'm very, very excited about it. Yes, Becky is applauding for me. Thank you, Becky. Okay, so we just put the title page on ServiceNow. In the past, we have taken the title page, we have sent it through Adobe Sign to your committee members, but we noticed that it was taking a very long time for committee members to sign off. I was having 3 weeks, 2 months, and that's not really fair to you as a student to be waiting for that document when you're trying to complete things. So we moved it to ServiceNow and it's so much faster. It's going to be so great. Okay, so this is what the title page will look like. You'll put your thesis or dissertation title as you would like it to appear. You're going to specify your degree and department. Okay, so we put examples in that box so you know what we're looking for. So for example, you're getting a master's in physics or a doctorate in psychology. Okay, you're going to list your major professor and then your committee members. And that's it. Isn't that the most simple form ever? I'm so proud of it. Okay. Let me check chat here. Yes, if your committee member is not a USU employee, they still are able to sign off in ServiceNow because your department should be able to give them an A number. It's a very simple process. Sorry, talk to your graduate program coordinator and they should be able to set that person up in ServiceNow. We call them GPCs. And so if I refer to that person as a GPC, graduate program coordinator is who I'm talking about, okay?
Because we know that's.
We use a
really
lot of
really
acronyms in SGS.
or different
Ah,
ways to be
okay. Let's see my little chatsies. Yes, the GBC will know how to help you. And if you have any problems, feel free to email me as well. But my email is at the end of the slideshow and my last name is huge. So be prepared. Okay. You need to like marry a Smith. Okay. USU publication guide. It is found in thesis dissertation requirements. Okay, so this is on the grad school website. And you're gonna go here to find our infamous USU publication guide. All right. Becky, is there a way if I can just flip the screen or do I have to stop sharing this one and go to a different one? Aha, haha, I win. Okay. Share this one. All right, this is what, oh, just kidding. I clicked it. Dang it. I tried. Okay. Maybe. Sorry, guys. Technology is fun. Let's stop the share and we'll see if we can find out. Okay, there it is. So the USU publication guide, it is a pretty hefty document, but it's going to show you how to format the matter of your paper, okay? This is required for all Plan A doctoral candidates. It's the way that we keep everything, what's the word I'm looking for? Consistent, yeah, the same throughout all of our documents that we're submitting to Digital Commons, okay? So I'm not gonna go through everything here because it's very wordy, but I'm gonna show you the appendices, okay? So it's going to talk about your front matter. If you have a multiple page format, sorry, I'm scrolling really fast. Some spacing issues, pagination, like it's very basic bones of the paper. All right, I'm gonna scroll down here though, so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's an example of our old title page that we used to send out, but it's still going to be a part of your paper. We're just not sending this specific page out anymore. And then I just need to update this today where we're going to take away these little signatory lines. But this is what it is going to look like. You'll notice that the title is in an inverted pyramid by your name, and then it goes to your committee members, Utah State 2021. Okay, so that's what the title page is going to look like. And you'll notice we have one for however many committee members you have. Okay, so there's different ones there to show you. Have 7 committee members, you're rocking it. Okay. This next part is you're going to have a copyright page. Very simple, copyright, your name, centered, pretty simple, okay? The next thing we're going to be looking for in your paper is an abstract. This one is an example of, we call it the formal abstract. So the audience that you're writing to in this particular abstract would be like knowledgeable to your discipline, all right? And then you'll notice we also have a public abstract. It's formatted just a little bit differently throughout here. And the public abstract is written in terms so anybody can understand it and doesn't have to have a special expertise in your field. The reason that we have the public abstract is because we are a land grant institution and we are required to have our materials available for public consumption. Okay, and I believe it's the public abstract that Digital Commons uses when you can search it online. Okay. I gotcha. Sorry, so at the time when we defend our thesis to our community our thesis doesn't yet need to match publication guide for grad school. I would, to be perfectly honest, format it to the specifications that you're going to need to submit it. Just skip that step, you know, or don't create more steps for yourself. All of that formatting can be completed. Yes, but after the, I mean, it can be completed after, but why wait? And I know some committee members do look for it. So I would definitely talk to your major professor about it too. Okay, I'm gonna keep scrolling. Jared, I'm sorry that was kind of neither here nor there. Okay, the next part of the paper is actually optional, but I would suggest you do it because it's nice to thank people along your way. Okay, we have an acknowledgements section. I like this little right here. Please note that USU uses the Americanized spelling of acknowledgements that does not include an extra E between the G and the M. Okay, so be aware, we will send it back if you put in that extra E, all right? But there's that. Some optional things that you might have in your front matter. A frontispiece, which is more like a picture. I've only seen one and I've been here almost 5 years, but if you want a frontispiece, you can have that. Some people like to put in a dedication, and I think that's all I've seen, but those are also optional if you want to do those as well. All right, then we have our contents page. You'll notice that everything is listed here. We have the Roman numerals, we have page over the numbers column. This is the stuff that I look for when I'm looking at your front matter and I'm reviewing your paper for finalization. But like I said, the publication guide is going to show you how to format all this. The next thing we look for is a list of tables if you have any, right there. And a list of figures if you have any. And lately I've been also finding people will put like a list of abbreviations if you need that. Those are kind of on my sciencey papers. Okay. Alrighty. Let me get back to this. Okay. Okay, Steve, what I am looking for, your title page, your copyright page, your abstract, your public abstract. Oh, here we go, optional sections, a dedication, frontispiece acknowledgements, contents, list of tables, list of figures. Then what I'm doing when you submit your paper to me for final review, I'm looking at the bones of your paper, all right? I'm looking at your margins, I'm looking at your tables, your figures. I am not looking at the content of your paper because I'm not a physicist and I'm not a mathematician. I am an English major, so I could definitely edit your paper, but if you came to me and said, please figure out this math equation, I would just tell you to leave, okay? I mean, that's not my expertise. So that's what I'm gonna be looking at when I'm editing your paper. And then I also look for a curriculum vitae for every doctoral candidate. That's required for every PhD student to include at the end of their paper, a CV. And I'm sorry you have to make that because those are very boring documents, but you have to include it, okay? Okay, so let's talk about how you submit your stuff, your materials to me, okay? Your format and style form triggers SGS me to create a box.com review folder where you, your major professor, your GPC, and I will communicate about the review process. What happens once all your materials are submitted? I run a spell check on your paper. Usually I hope that you've spell checked your paper, but I have had to send 1 or 2 back, okay? One of the big things that I do find is, and I don't know why Word hasn't figured this out yet, is when you write a word in all caps, sometimes it does not spell check it. Okay, so if you're writing some sort of chapter heading, or in your front matter, if you're writing acknowledgements all in caps and you're not looking at the spelling, okay? That's usually where I kind of come in and spell check your paper. Then we run it through a plagiarism check through turnitin.com. On average, the return of plagiarism, I'm doing hypothetical quotes here, okay, is 30 to 40%, and it may be higher if you have previously published papers. So we expect you to, you know, have cited other papers, and that's usually what we find there. There has only been one paper, and in the time that I've been here, that had any plagiarism problems, because they plagiarized a paper from 1985. Don't go back to the 80s if you're gonna plagiarize, okay? There is not. No, we don't specify how to format your CV. Usually it's kind of contingent on your discipline. Alrighty, sorry, let me get over here. Okay, so next, you will either receive an email about an annotated copy that has been uploaded to your box.com folder. Your GPC will receive this as well. That will be if I find anything in your paper that needs to be addressed, all right? So I'll send that annotation back to you, and you can edit that paper and then send it back to me, and we can get that finalized for you. Or you will receive an email saying that your paper has been approved and that your title page is going to be signed by the vice provost. Now that we've moved the title page into ServiceNow, it will be signed through ServiceNow, which is really nice, okay? And I will send your paper to the library for upload into Digital Commons and ProQuest, so you don't have to worry about any of that. And you will receive an email once this has been processed. Usually you'll receive that email within 1 to 3 days. They're pretty quick over here, getting that finalized for you. Okay, and then once your paper has been finalized by the library, it is locked from further editing. I want to repeat that. It is locked. You cannot edit anymore. It's done, all right? I have had instances where students have emailed me and they were like, I spelled my middle name wrong. Congratulations, you now have a new middle name, because I can't fix it, okay? So look at your name, make sure everything is correct, okay? All right, this is our slide on if you need help in writing your paper. USU.EDU, that is the website for the Writing Center. They are located in the basement of the Ray B. West building, or I don't remember where the science one is. Yeah, there's a specific one if you are in a sciences, you can go to the science review. Becky's looking that up for you right now, okay? Some of you will also have a department reviewer. That's contingent on the department, so you can ask, but you might not have one. Some departments will provide a reviewer. It's kind of like an extra bonus. Okay, so I'm sorry if you don't have one. I'm happy if you do. Okay. Perhaps there is a grad friend that will look over your paper for you. A friend, if you trust them to read your materials, or I always put a family member that loves you. All right, anyone, literally anyone that's not you should kind of take a look at your paper, because that's a document that you have looked over and over again, and sometimes your brain will just miss those mistakes. So it's nice to have some outside eyes. When I taught English 2010, I would tell them to read their paper backwards. I'm like, take it a paragraph at a time and go backwards to see if it makes sense. Okay, we also have some freelance editors on campus that are available to you, and they are actually listed on the Writing Center website. Okay. Okay, and Becky has listed the Science Center as well in chat. Okay. Look, you made it. You made it to the last slide. Okay, so questions. Like I said, I'm Erica Beckstrand. It's erica.beckstrand@usu.edu. That is my phone number, and you can call it. I'm still working remotely, so sometimes I'm unable to answer. So email usually is the best way to go for me. And then Becky Toms is the librarian that has popped up every so often in this presentation. But she is lovely and would love to help you in any way library related. Okay, so becky.toms@usu.edu, and that's her phone number as well. Okay, now is your time in chat to ask us any questions that you might have. None? I did that good. Thanks, guys. That makes me feel good about myself. All righty. Okay, can we have appendices in a chapter? Yes, you can. You can have the appendices in the chapter, or you can do a large appendices at the end of the document. That is up to you. And maybe you're maybe the professor. In order to begin before the grade. Yes, Logan, you would have to complete everything before May. Because your grace semester, well, okay, when did you defend? So if you defend in the spring, your grace semester is the summer, but you'd have to submit everything by the spring. Sorry, I'm going on kind of limited information. I will defend in the spring. Okay, so yes, you would have to defend and then rapidly edit everything and get it all submitted and finalized to graduate. Okay, what if I apply to graduate in the fall and I'm not able to submit all corrections by December 17th? It depends on, did you defend in the fall? Because then you have your grace semester in the spring and you could be a spring graduate. Yes, sorry, Logan, I'm not sure what that date was. We're updating our website. It's gonna look really nice once it's done. Yes, if I defend in the fall. Okay, yeah. So you would have to have everything all corrected, submitted, and finalized by December 17th. Please note that I said finalized. So I'm talking all that paperwork has to be done. You have to get past me and the library. And if you're embargoed, there's an extra step of you have to print off the paper, bring it to the library. Okay. Any other questions? I am pretty quick. How long does the grad school take to review the dissertation? I ask for 2 weeks. I can usually get it done within about 2 to 3 days. But we do ask for a 2-week buffer, especially in the spring. This last spring, I did over 100 reviews, and that was a lot. I had to go to therapy after that one. Okay. Let's see. I'm defending this semester, but will not apply for graduation. Yes, that's okay. That is okay. I'm assuming you would probably want to graduate in the spring. Maybe. Can you be lenient and make our graduation sooner? If only I had that power. Any other questions? What is our graduation date? Like the defense. I'm so sorry, I'm not 100% sure what we're asking. Oh, okay, I think I get it. Okay, so we do kind of like a batch out. Our registrar at the end of every semester, that's when it's finalized. So it's not necessarily the date that I finalize everything. It's like everything is batched out at that end date. So let's take the fall, for example. It was December 17th. So everyone that did everything right up to December 17th is batched out at 5 o'clock at that date as a fall graduate. Okay. And then anything beyond that point, you're considered spring. It's very strict because we got audited and they found we weren't doing that. So now we do it. Okay. Any other questions? These are good questions. Thank you. Will this video be? Yes. We recorded our last one and we didn't like it, but I like this one. So we'll post this one. I do. Do you not read the math notation? I read your figures. But if you ask me to explain your figure, I'm not going to do that for you. Any other questions? Oh, Becky is coming in. It will be available. Okay, sounds good. Yes, yeah. Okay, for Patricia, I'm gonna have you email. She's our registrar and she's the one that handles graduation. I'm not 100% sure how to answer your question. I'm not sure if she needs that intent to graduate or not. So email my Megan friend. Okay. When getting ready to defend our thesis, do we have to be in Logan for rewriting and whatnot? No, I don't believe you'd have to be here to write it. I know with COVID, and I'm thinking that it still stands, you can have a remote defense. I imagine it will go away, that will go away eventually, but with the time that we're living in, we're just accommodating what we can. So I don't know if that's what you're asking, if you want to defend virtually. But you don't need to necessarily be in Logan for writing it. Unless there's a residency issue. See, I always find the caveat. Are you trying to gain residency? Then stay. Please stay. Okay. All right. Any other questions for me? Perfect. Okay. I think that we will end this then. Thank you so much for joining us today. You've all been great. Any other questions, feel free to email me or Becky. Hey, have a good one, y'all. Have a good one. Bye.